Genesis disclosure of angels and demons. Enoch is considered the patriarch of the Hebrews. We don't know much about his life except for a few and somewhat confused ones which are mentioned in the Holy Bible, especially in the first book, that of Genesis. According to tradition, Genesis chapter 4, verse 17, Enoch was the son of Cain, the father of Jared, while according to the genealogy of Seth, Genesis chapter 4:18, he was seventh from Adam, son of Jared, and the father of Methuselah. He lived 365 years in perfect obedience to God and transferred to heaven without knowing death. Genesis chapter 5:24 says, this transfer of his to heaven created a legend around his name, as a result of which he wrote various philosophical works concerning him, which the Hebrews combined into the single work with the general title Book of Enoch, about 200 BC. The book was originally written in the Aramaic or Hebrew language. Excerpts of it are preserved in Greek and Latin translation, and the whole in Ethiopic, which is why it is also known as Enoch 1 or Ethiopic Enoch, to distinguish it from another apocryphal called Enoch 2 or Slavonian Enoch. One can also find it under the names Enoch or Orasis Enoch. The division of the work varies from critic to critic, but we'll mention that of the cities of the certain theologians. He lived 365 years in perfect obedience to God. Now, his speech concerning angels and demons, the desire to deal with the angelic section of Enoch was purely for the information of our readers, and because the purpose of this is not only to deal with heresies but also to inform the faithful, because we believe that the correct information about the issue of the faith helps to believe the believer to have a complete and clear view of what he believes and believes in. So many names of angels or demons that are familiar to him and he thinks are mentioned in the Holy Bible, he'll find that not only do they not come from the Bible, but even more so, they don't even refer to the Bible. We'll start with chapter 6, 7, and 8, where the fall of the angels, whom the author called the vigilantes or apostates, and their mingling with women are described, which apparently the author has borrowed from the corresponding accounts of Genesis chapter 6, verse 1 and 2. Worthy of the attention is that while the Genesis account of the event in question is very brief, just 2 verses, in the book of Enoch not only is it more extensive, but also mentions the name of the fallen angels and what immoral and obscene acts they lead people to with their teaching. And it should also not escape the attention of the reader that the construction of war objects is considered by the author as a work of demons, as well as the discovery of metalworking and the early stages of science, such as astronomy and the observation of the course of the moon. The fall of angels, degeneration of humanity. And it came to pass when the sons of man increased that in those days beautiful and graceful daughters were born, and the angels, the children of heaven, saw them and fell in love with them, and said among themselves, come, let us choose for ourselves wives from among the children of men, and let us bear children of our own. And Semiazas, who was chief then, said to them, I fear you will not agree to do this thing, and I alone will pay the penalty of the great sin. And they all answered to him and said, let us all swear an oath and bind ourselves to mutual curses not to abandon this plan, but to do what we have decided. And then they all came together and bound themselves with mutual curses, and in all there were 200 who went down in the days of Jared upon the top of Mount Hermon, and called it Hermon, because they swore and cursed one upon another upon it. And these are the names of the leaders: Shemiaz the leader, Arathak, Kimbra, Shamani, Daniel, Arieros, Shemiel, Leomel, Kohariel, Ezekiel, Bathiel, Shatiel, Atriel, Tamiel, Barakiel, Ananta, Thoniel, Ramiel, Asiel, Rakel, Turiel, and these are their leaders by the dozen, chapter 6, verse 1 to 8. And all the rest took with them wives for themselves, and each one chose one, and they began to enter into them and to defile themselves with them, and taught them charms and pharmacies and rhizotomies, and taught them to know herbs. And these conceived and gave birth to great giants, 3,000 cubits in height, who devoured the labors of men. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and creeping things, and fishes, and eat one another's flesh, and to drink the blood, and the earth blamed the lawless. And Haziel taught the people to make swords, and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known unto them the metals of the earth, and the art of working them, the gilts and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of precious stones, and all dyes. And there was much impiety, and they committed fornication, and were led astray and corrupted by their teachings. Semiazas taught them charms and rhizotomies, Armarius the solution of charms, Rakiel astrology, Hochiel the signs of the earth, Sathiel the constellations, Seriel the course of the moon. Names and functions of the 7 archangels. In chapter 20, the book of Enoch, the names and functions of the archangels are mentioned, which at this particular point are 7, while as we'll see below in another part of the book, there are 4. And these are the names of the holy angels, whose speed Uriel was of the holy angels over the world and Tartarus, Raphael, one of the holy angels over the spirits of men, Raguel, one of the holy angels who takes revenge on the world of lights, Michael, one of the holy angels who is placed over the best part of humanity and over chaos, Sarakiel, one of the holy angels who is placed over the spirits of those who sin with the spirit, Gabriel, one of the holy angels, he who is in paradise, and the serpents and the cherubim, Ramiel, one of the holy angels from whom God placed over the risen. The 4 archangels. In chapter 40 of the book of Enoch, as we said, the 4 archangels are mentioned to prove how right the critics of the said book are. The book of Enoch is compilation of various little literary works. After that I asked the angel of peace who was with me, who revealed all the mysteries to me, who are these 4 persons whom I saw, and whose words I heard and wrote down? He answered to me, the first is Michael, the merciful and long-suffering. The second is Raphael, who is established over all the diseases and wounds of men. The third is Gabriel, who is established over all powers. And the fourth is he who is established upon the repentance and hope of those who shall inherit eternal life, and is called Phanuel. The names and works of the fallen angels and Satan. The compiler of the work of Enoch returns again to the fallen angels in chapter 69, but this time he uses different names for them than those he set forth in chapter 6 and 8. In addition, his reference to the deceptive teachings of the demons who taught men to turn them away from God is more extensive than the previous chapters. However, the author's hostility towards letters and science, since he considers them to be the work of demons, is also impressive this time. Of course, there is an explanation for this phenomenon, but it's not the subject of this treatise. Just to say that the book of Enoch was written at a time when the Seleucids began and brutally oppressing the Jewish people to change their faith, culminating in the provocative act of Antiochus IV, the illustrious, to turn the Temple of Solomon into Temple of Zeus, resulting in the outbreak of the Maccabean revolt. And these are the princes of the angels and of the names of and of the heads of the hundreds and fifties and tens. The name of the first Jachan, hence he is who seduced him the sons of God and brought them down to earth and seduced them with the daughters of men. And the second was called Ashviel. He gave the holy sons of God evil counsel and deceived them, and that they should defile their bodies with the daughters of men. And the third was named Gadriel. This is he who pointed out to the children of men all the deadly blows, deceiving Eve. and pointed out the shield and the breastplate and the sword for battle and all the weapons of death to the children of men. From his hand weapons spread to the inhabitants of the earth from that day and forever. And the fourth is called Penemue. He taught the children of men bitter and sweet, and taught them all the secrets of their wisdom. And he instructed mankind to write with ink and paper. And thus many have sinned from age to age until this day. For men were not created for this purpose, to confirm his good faith with pen and ink, for men are created just like angels, in order that they might continue pure and righteous, and death, which destroys everything, could not touch them. But because of this knowledge they perish, and with this power death overtakes me. And the 50 was called Chaldea. This is he who showed unto the children of men all the evil blows of spirits and demons, and the blows of the fetus in the womb, and it may be cast out, the blows of the soul, the bites of serpents, and the beating which occur in the midday heat, the son of the serpent called Tavaet. And this is the work of Casbiel, the Lord of the oath, whom he showed to the saints when the devil on high in glory, and his name is Vika. Concluding this interesting matter, it's worth remembering how do we know that we have made a superficial treatment of the subject. It's now up to the anxious and discerning reader to do his own research to form a more complete and clear view. The keys to the Enochian system. The Enochian system is a magical system revealed in the period 1581 to 89 to Dr. Johann John Dee, mathematician, astronomer, astrologer, geographer, and magician in the court of Queen Elizabeth I of England, and very likely a spy on her behalf, and Edward Kelly, convicted criminal, alchemist, and psychic. The Enochian system differs from all other magical systems in that there is a large body of work still to be processed and interpreted, named after the biblical character Enoch. Specifically, it was named after the Dead Sea manuscript, the Book of Enoch. The parallel is drawn between the revelation of angelic knowledge to Enoch by archangel-uriel and Anael, and the angelic knowledge given to Dee by various spiritual entities or angels. The Enochian system has its own language, script, vocabulary, and grammar. The whole system, which is characterized by great complexity and makes use of geometric figures and tablets, tables that must be decoded in a certain way, including the language, was revealed through seance and seemingly evolved through the duration of revelations. As Dee had little psychic ability, he had to hire a psychic to act as an intermediary for said information. The first he hired was Barnabas Saul, who first told Dee about the angelic revelations, but Dee for some reason was not happy with him, so he changed several mediums until Edward Kelly showed up at his home in Mortlake. In a large portion of Dee and Kelly's seances, angelic beings provided Kelly with information on creating seals and tablets. The seals were a first gift as an aid for the subsequent seances, but the real depth of the system can be seen in the tables. And from these tables, most of the system and its language was developed. A very large part of this is the inner keys, and these keys summon spirits and have been used by the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, Aleister Crowley, among many others. This is from a Greek article that I've translated for you. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.